Human and demon, feudal era and present day, peace and war, joy and sorrow, dreams and reality, a double-edged bloodline, one moment and an eternity. It's time for an Inulysis. Who is Amatsumikaboshi? Amatsumikaboshi was first mentioned in Yashahime, Princess Half Demon, the second act, episode 29, The Girl Named Rion. We're told that the Bakuseiken and the Zanseiken were passed from Amatsumikaboshi, the god of stars. After the last Discord podcast we had the other day that took place on February 4th, Lawless had a question for me and she asked, why haven't you mentioned anything about the swords that have to do with the star god? Do you know something? Are you hiding something? It was almost like she was pulling me aside from a big crowd and whispering to me, like, do you have any leaks? I was laughing and I said I knew what was going to happen because based on historical documentation on Amatsu Mikaboshi with the Nihongi was an evil god. She knew something wasn't right with the Sanseiken from the beginning, but yes, the first time Amatsu Mikaboshi was mentioned, I knew it had sounded familiar because it was from the Nihongi. For Yashahime, Princess Half Demon, episode 42, The Collapsing Windmill of Time, Amatsu Mikaboshi was mentioned again in the episode summary and within the episode itself by Sesshomaru's mother. She says, Sanseiken. When its user absorbs demon energy, it whittles away their kon. It appears to have been cursed. It would be best if you discarded that sword. If not, the sword's owner will eventually take control of your body. If you lose your kon, as long as your body still has a haku, it is possible to use it as a vessel to transplant a soul. So, who is Amatsu Mikaboshi? Amatsu Mikaboshi was in the Nihon Shoki, also known as the Nihongi, Japanese chronicles.
Do have a couple of sources about Amatsu Mikaboshi, and I do apologize in advance if I do say any of these names wrong. According to Encyclopedia of Shinto, Hoshi no Kami Kakaseo, other names Amatsu Mikaboshi, Ame no Kakaseo, an astral kami appearing in Nihongi, ordered by the heavenly kami to pacify the central land of reed plains. The two kami, Futsunushi and Takemikazuchi, descended to the central land and subdued the noxious indigenous kami together with the kami of grass, trees, and rocks. The only rebel that remained was an evil kami named Kakaseo, who resisted the imperial forces until brought under subjection by the kami Takehazuchi. This completed the pacification of the central land, and the two earlier kami thus returned to the plane of high heaven. According to an alternative writing transmitted by Nihongi, however, Futsunushi and Takemikazuchi requested that the evil kami of heaven, Amatsu Mikaboshi, Kakaseo, be put to death before they descended to pacify the land. This passage thus portrays Kakaseo as a heavenly kami in contrast to the previous episode's description of him as an akatonic in origin. These are virtually the only two passages in Japanese myth dealing with a deity of the stars, and are unique in that the kami portrayed is not in subjection to the order of the heavenly kami. Mori Mizue. According to Japanese wiki, gods defying stars and the moon are seen all over the world, and gods of stars in particular are sometimes treated as main enshrined deities. However, in Japanese mythology, the god of stars is depicted as a god who should be brought to submission, or disobedient god. Regarding this, some say it refers to the fact that there was a tribe which worshipped the god of stars,
And those who did not obey the Yamato sovereignty.
according to Occult World, Amatsu Mikaboshi, August Star of Heaven. Amatsu Mikaboshi is often described as the Japanese god of evil, implying that he is a satanic figure, but that is imprecise. Shinto has no Satan, and Amatsu Mikaboshi is neither a god nor evil. Instead, he is a primordial force that existed before this world was formed. Amatsu Mikaboshi is a nebulous presence, and attempts to explain who or what he is are no less nebulous. At some point, he may have been the only force in the world. Amatsu Mikaboshi may be the primordial great void. He ruled the universe, if only because nothing else existed. Somehow, during creation of the modern universe, His power was broken, but never completely disappeared. Instead, his aura or residue remains. An alternative myth suggests that Amatsumikaboshi was one of the imperfect children discarded by Izanami and Izanagi. Either way, Amatsumikaboshi is in the world but not of the world. He has no clear official part or function to play. He doesn't even have a corporal form in which to manifest. He is a bitter, cold, angry, disenfranchised presence. He has no shrines and is not of much relevance to the average person, although his name appears in many comic books and role-playing games where he is usually cast as a villain. He is an esoteric, abstract presence in the universe rather than a spirit with whom one can communicate directly. He may be the spirit of the most distant heavens, the celestial void or abyss. Shinto is a spiritual system that values harmony. Amatsumikaboshi is associated with lingering energies and emotions, especially excessive ones that destroy harmony or create imbalance in the world, as in essence he does. He doesn't necessarily share or incite these emotions. Instead, intense, uncontrolled emotions are perceived as sharing his essence. They are magnetically attracted to Amatsumikaboshi, as he is to them, because they are made of the same stuff and potentially have the same effect. Destructive disharmony, thus excessive anger, envy, and even love, which potentially leads to unhealthy obsessions, is perceived as belonging to Amatsumikaboshi and expressing his essence. In later Buddhist perspective, this excess emotion was perceived as a sin. Hence, Amatsumikaboshi developed a reputation as master of sinners. He may or may not be associated with Yomi, a Shinto death realm. One theory suggests that Amatsumikaboshi, a single, all-encompassing power, was broken and dispersed by the introduction of yin and yang forces into the universe. In Japanese, in and yo. Onmyoji practitioners of a Japanese shamanic magical tradition are masters of yin and yang and have sought to harness the power of Amatsumikaboshi, possibly giving him a corporal form. In this form, he may be known as Amano Kagaseo, the brilliant male.
What's interesting about that last theory that suggests Amatsumikaboshi was broken and dispersed by yin and yang forces was that Taisho and Kirinmaru were able to take care of the shard of the Grim Comet, then Inuyasha and Sesshomaru as well. According to Animage magazine, September and October 2020 issues, Towa and Setsuna inherit the yin and yang of Sesshomaru. Towa was designed being a white Sesshomaru and Setsuna being a black Sesshomaru. Rumiko Takahashi also mentioned this in Shonen Sunday Super December 2020. She says, scenario writer Sumisawa-san asked me of the following images, Towa as a white Sesshomaru and Setsuna as a black Sesshomaru. There was two swords that were passed from Amatsumikaboshi. It says that the masters of yin and yang sought to harness Amatsumikaboshi's power, similar to how Towa wanted to master the Zanseiken.
And since Amatsumikaboshi is mentioned in the Nihongi, Chronicles of Japan from Earliest Times to 8697 by William George Aston, I have all the scans right here on the Internet Archive for you guys to open up and read into. It's all for non-commercial use, so it'll be linked in the description, and I hope you guys enjoy.
Be sure to subscribe and follow me on social media to get the latest announcements and news about Inuyasha and Yashahime. We will definitely be following up on any translations, interviews, episode summaries, and cast lists as the episodes release. Stay tuned!